بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, the blessed days of Dhul Hijjah are going. I know some people may be fasting, so we'll keep it short today. But I thought other people may not. Some people, they plan to come. So just to keep the consistency going, kuch na kuch, inshallah, keh denge. Inshallah, we'll read few hadith, inshallah, discuss them, and go on, inshallah. One thing just interesting, like it's not related to this right now, from right after namaz, my hifz teacher, he just called me. So then, alhamdulillah, so they're having a graduation in few months, next month, July. So he's just saying, are you coming and stuff. But my advice to students here and those who, want to do hifz, or you're putting your children in hifz, etc., or in any type of ilmi thing, you should tell your child, be the type of student that the teacher calls afterwards. Because it's never, I honestly, and it may sound bad or something, and people will say, especially because people are so sensitive nowadays, but it's not the teacher's job to keep in touch with the students afterwards. Because there's always students coming, and the teacher is busy with those students, right? It's the student's job to keep in touch with the teacher. But if you're such a special student and you work with so much ikhlas and you really earn that teacher's love, they'll still keep in touch with you. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like there's mashallah some students here, like they'll see me and I'm like, what's your name again? So I haven't seen them in like 4 or 5 years, right? Yeah, remember me? He's like, yeah, kind of. Right? So anyways, that's alhamdulillah, he called me. So and I studied with him, I graduated 2003, 21 years ago. Alhamdulillah. Okay, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala sayyidina mursaleen. Last week we started the discussion of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us to do that, and this is the ruh of our deen. So the first hadith in this chapter, we talked about it last week, we went through all of these ayat. فَالْأَوَّلُ عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه. Abu Sa'id Khudri رضي الله عنه, he narrates, and Abu Sa'id Khudri, his name was Sa'ad bin Malik bin Sinan رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, he said, I heard Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم say, من رأى منكم منكرا, whoever of you sees, and this doesn't mean to see with one's eyes, it's knowledge. Whoever of you knows munkaran, of something munkar, we talked about that, a bad thing, something that's negative in deen, فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ, then they must change it with their hands. We talked about this last week. It's fard kifaya for somebody in the ummah, some people in the ummah to do this, not for everyone. But somebody should change it with their hand. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you see it, you change it with your hands. That's the asal. That's the thing that our iman demands, that we should be able to put an end to it. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ, however, there are circumstances that will prevent a person. So if they're not able to end it with their hand, فَبِلِسَانِهِ, then they should change it with their tongue. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ, and if the person is not able to even do that, فَبِقَلْبِهِ, then they change it with their heart. وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ, and that is the weakest iman. Rawahu Muslim, Imam Muslim rahmatullahi alayh, he narrates this hadith. What does this hadith mean? There's a few things that we can look at. Number one, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he laid out the hierarchy. It's not a choice. You see something and you say that, yeah, it's not that bad. I'll just think bad about it and I'll keep going. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he laid out this hierarchy because if a person is able to stop a wrong with their hand and they decide not to do it, they just suffice with the tongue, slowly things will devolve to beyond the lowest stage, right? Beyond the lowest stage, meaning that there won't even be people thinking bad about it anymore. As long as there's a person that could change it with their hand, but they decide, I'm not going to. I'll just do it with my tongue. What's going to happen is people will become complacent. Eventually you'll get to a level where there are not even people who think that it's a bad thing anymore. They don't think of it bad in their heart. Then Rasulullah says, وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. Now some people, they translate this and say that this is the weakest iman, meaning the weakest iman that a person can have is that they think something bad in their heart. But that's not the case, because you have great awliyaullah and great people who are not able to say anything due to their circumstances. Does that mean that their iman is weak? No. It means that Islam at that time will be quite weak, in such a weak state that it cannot even be it cannot be manifest over wrong things. That means iman will be weak at that time. Now, who is intended in this? Some people, they say everybody. That's the first explanation I give. Other ulama, they say that it's categories, meaning that a leader, it's their job to stop these things with their hands. A leader, a ruler, somebody who has power to enforce their desires. And it's the job of the ulama to stop this with their tongue. And it's the job of everybody else to stop it with their heart. However, I would say is that a person has to look at each situation. It may be, as a parent, you're able to stop something with your hand, maybe meaning you're able to stop it by force. You can say, well, I'm not an alim, so I'm just going to think bad of it, I'm going to let my kid go. You look at the situation, and however you're able to stop it, the highest level is physically stop it, then verbally, and then after that think bad of it. Look at the highest way that you can act in any given situation and act on that. And then use hikmah. Sometimes you are able to stop it with your hand. But if you use your hand at that point, what's going to happen is you're going to put this person completely off the path. That means you didn't really stop it, right? That means you didn't really change it. You change it for the worse. Sometimes a word spoken with hikmah is what's needed. Sometimes a harsh word is what's needed, right? Rather than a gentle word, sometimes a harsh word is needed. A person has to do all of this with hikmah. You can't take a hadith out of context. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'idati al hasana." Call to the path of your Rabb with hikmah. Sometimes hikmah demands harshness, like Umar radiyallahu anhu. And sometimes hikmah demands softness, like Uthman radiyallahu anhu. Sometimes hikmah demands putting everything on the line, like Hazrat Ali radiyallahu anhu. And sometimes hikmah requires a person to completely change their personality, their persona, like Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala. I have to see. Right? Okay, the next hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, and one other thing that some of the ulama, they say is that, yeah, basically I had mentioned that, like the rulers, they do that. Okay, the next hadith, عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ما من نبي بعثه الله في أمة قبلي. There was not any messenger that Allah sent before me إلا كان له من أمته حواريون, except that from his ummah he had hawariyun. Hawariyun means people who have a special connection to the leader, special helper to this person. So who did Rasulullah ﷺ call the hawari of his ummah? He said every Nabi has a hawari, and my hawari is Zubayr radiyallahu ta'ala. Okay? So Rasulullah ﷺ, he said every Nabi had a hawari, this special helper who he has a special connection with. وَأَصْحَابٌ, and companions, يَأْخُذُونَ بِسُنَّتِهِ وَيَقْتَدُونَ بِأَمْرِهِ, who take his sunnah and who act on his orders. That's when the messenger is there. ثُمَّ إِنَّهَا تَخْلُفُ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خُلُوفٌ. This word khuluf, if it comes with a dhamma, it means a bad successor. If it's with a fatah, khaluf, it means a good successor. After them, they are succeeded by bad successors. يَقُولُونَ مَا لَا يَفْعَلُونَ. They say what they don't do. Right? They're hypocrites. وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا لَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. And they do what they were not ordered to do. فَمَنْ جَاهَدَهُمْ. So Muslims, they'll see this. فَمَنْ جَاهَدَهُمْ بِيَدِهِ Whoever struggles against them with their hand, فَهُوَ مُؤْمِن, they're a believer. وَمَنْ جَاهَدَهُمْ بِقَلْبِهِ فَهُوَ مُؤْمِن, and whoever struggles against them with their heart, فَهُوَ مُؤْمِن. وَمَنْ جَاهَدَهُمْ بِلِسَانِهِ فَهُوَ مُؤْمِن, and whoever struggles against them with their tongue, فَهُوَ مُؤْمِن. And sometimes the tongue is dua, right? وَلَيْسَ وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ حَبَّةُ خَرْدَلٍ. Rasulullah ﷺ said, beyond that, there's not a mustard seed of iman. That if people are doing wrong things in the name of deen, and you don't stop it in some way, and at the very least you don't feel bad about it, there's no iman there, right? This should terrify us. How many things do we see else? I'll give an example. This is the month, I don't know, certain things, they just came up, like, there's no such thing as Pride Month when we were young. All of a sudden, this is such a big thing. It's considered like a, and if you go on YouTube, it's like a whole thing, suggested videos. I don't watch the garbage. It's like YouTube is suggesting that to everybody. You know what I mean? And then holidays are coming up that never existed before, and all of these types of things. This month, right? Now, whatever is going on, a person can't say something against LGBT. What I mean is, I could say, but in your job, in a corporate job, if you were to say something, there could be severe repercussions against you, right? Honestly. You could be blackmailed, you could be, people can blacklist you, and now your job will be gone and you're going into even bigger problems, right? You can't say anything sometimes. But you can feel bad about it. If you accept it, if you say that if you think that it's normal, if you begin to think to yourself, this is no big deal, what iman is there after that? Right? We will be put in situations where there's absolutely nothing that we can do physically. You can't even say anything because of the repercussions to your life in our country, to your profession. Right? But at the very least, we have to feel bad about it. We have to educate our kids what is right and what is wrong. Educate ourselves what's right and wrong. Right? Otherwise, our iman is in khatra. Forget about this LGBT thing. Sometimes we see other things going on. Outside, people dancing, people doing this, movies we watch, right? Celebrating things, drug use, theft, illicit relationships. And we watch it and we enjoy it and we're like, it's so good. But what are we doing? We're seeing something wrong. And we're enjoying it in our heart. We're not looking down at it. So this is just a thought for all of us. I'm not speaking about anyone or anything in particular. The last hadith, and we'll stop here. عن أبي الوليد عبادة بن الصامت رضي الله عنه قال بايعنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This Ubadah bin Samit radiallahu anhu, inshallah, I will talk about him next time, his biography. Secondly, we'll stop here inshallah, because again, Dhul Hijjah, some of you may be fasting, etc. We'll stop here inshallah. Next time we'll begin, if Allah gives tawfiq, with the biography of Ubadah bin Samit radiallahu ta'ala. Also, anytime a Sahabi is coming the first time, I'm just mentioning some things about him. He was, a very prominent Sahabi. He was with Rasulullah ﷺ in Badr and Uhud and everything. So we'll talk about him a little bit. There's one way that we could fulfill the haqq of the Sahaba, radiyallahu anhu. At least mention them when we come across. And then this hadith also is a deep hadith with many meanings, inshallah, with many deep lessons rather. Inshallah, we'll go over next week. Wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillah.